The Hidden Work, Chapter 4, Bound in Return. If our work is successful, it is not into another world to which we will return, but into this world, consciously taking rebirth at the same point in history again and again, using our immortality, life everlasting through eternal recurrence, to perfect this life. The lust of destruction which moves human beings to destroy priceless statues and smash works of objective art, such as stained glass windows and archaeological monuments, is the same force which has also deprived contemporary man of the valuable transforming results of translation into higher dimensions, an effect produced by a special type of objective prayer called prayer absolute.
Do we want to pause here?
I love the opening paragraph, Sandy and Patricia.
Yes.
That gives me a lot of hope.
I'm always stunned by the fact that a paragraph can begin with the word lust and end with the word prayer absolute, and it's one sentence and it's coherent and cohesive, although I've never been able to take it completely apart. It's astonishing. Would you mind reading it again, please?
Sure, the paragraph, yeah.
Yes, I appreciate also the thing that goes before but if we start there, I don't know that we'll go anywhere else.
What's the bold called in? That's what I refer to. That's the one I said that gives me hope. The bold, right below beyond,
Yeah.
right below bound in return. What is that called?
I don't remember the word for that. There probably is some kind of correct,
term, right? But,
literary word. It's the one that's in bold that's before the regular. So it's maybe like a preamble or
that's a good guess.
Something like that.
Because it's usually a chapter, or it's usually comes straight out of the text of the chapter.
I know. Yeah. It's
anyway.
Yeah. Yes. I'm gonna say let's not read that again. Well, we can read it again, but let's not sit on it because we might not go anywhere else the whole time.
Okay.
Yeah, just read the whole both two that you read before, and then we can jump in anywhere.
The lust of destruction, which moves human beings to destroy priceless statues and smash works of objective art, such as stained glass windows and archaeological monuments, is the same force which has also deprived contemporary man of the valuable transforming results of translation into higher dimensions, an effect produced by a special type of objective prayer called prayer absolute.
So what do we take in that sentence?
I don't know. if I'm off base here, but do you recall when this was written?
Oh, yeah, sort of.
Copyright 1991, but
Mr. Lee was still around.
I
Yeah,
think 1991.
I think that we had moved back from Meadow Vista. I'm not really sure. We might have still been in Meadow Vista. And the community living together thing was very, very strong and included a lot of children, a lot of different businesses that we all did together. We ran bingo. I mean, there was a lot of stuff going on. We were extremely active. Yeah.
So would this be pre or post the downfall of Saddam Hussein?
Oh gosh, I have no idea when he was here or gone.
The reason I ask is because that's the time I was most exposed to this type of lust of destruction that
Oh.
Sandy read in the first non-bold paragraph,
Okay.
where they were just outright smashing beautiful monuments and works of art.
Mhm. Yeah, you could be right on the contemporariness of the text. We'd have to look it up in encyclopedia or something. I couldn't recall that.
And I don't want to get all political here, so I'm
No,
gonna.
you're not allowed to get all political. You can be a little.
I think it's talking about the destructive force within us.
Yes.
So, you know how we get mad and when something starts it, right? Some trigger.
Mhm.
And initially we are able to like come back to ourselves at up to certain point.
Mhm.
You know, that's what we call tolerance, like I'm tolerating this other person.
Mhm.
And then at one point we snap, we are out of it. Then we don't have any control on that.
Mhm.
So I think that's what it's talking about, that once you reach that destructive force, unless you are able to what is called transform that you know, that part is out of our control, right? It's not, but if we transform it, then it can go to the higher dimensions.
Yeah, it's pretty specific, the language. It is an intense amount of data in a few words, but what I take from the sentence that says, or the phrase that says, is the same force which has deprived contemporary man of valuable transforming results of translation into higher dimensions. And results of translation into higher dimensions, for a long, long time, I thought that was like a language thing, you know, from one language to another language. And this time, what I've seen is that the word translation is as transformation, like it transforms something that was, you know, regular smashing stuff into a type of objective prayer. So the end result of the sentence says an effect produced by a special type of objective prayer. And so that also was another clue to me that there were multiple types of objective prayer, which I had never considered before. I had only named it as like one formulation or one setting or one result, which is not, I think, what it's saying. Well, how about if I read the next sentence?
Mm.
Is that okay?
Mm-hmm.
Another important loss to contemporary man is the disrupted communication with exalted intelligences in higher dimensions, especially with those exalted beings commonly called saints and angels, although this communication existed uninterrupted for several thousands of years in previous, more enlightened civilizations. So it's sort of like laying out the areas in which we are amiss by a mile, not by a few inches.
It's for me, it's just really heavy duty stuff.
That's what I would say too. How about if you read the next sentence and see, or the next paragraph, and see where we go?
Are we starting with religion, Patricia?
I would start with religion, part of man, but you can start wherever you choose.
Okay. Religion, literally translated into our language, means bound in return. It is meant not only in the sense of being bound to the absolute, but that we have taken upon ourselves the obligation to return again and again to our lives. Those lives which were given to us in hospitality. In return for this hospitality, we have agreed to perfect the life entrusted to our care. In this sense, we are the guardian angels of our biological machines, the houses in which we enjoy life.
Sets up a completely different scenario, doesn't it? Given those other three paragraphs, the scenario is completely different than, hey, you know, mom and dad wanted a kid and here I am, and let's live my life and have some kids and that's it.
The part I really enjoy about all that, the message that strikes me so much. I know it's a message of responsibility, and that I got more and more and more and more and more work to do, but it just reminds me of I don't know how many people are recall that message that EJ shared with us about Rose Gander in the garden, and how she was okay and she landed.
Yes.
And I guess it was something to do with that. We're going to land there too and all meet up again.
Yeah.
That was just a real soul warming message to me.
I would agree. And having known Rose for more than 30 years, it's like completely, totally normal
Wow.
that she would be in the garden. She would be in the garden. She would be seen in the garden. She'd be working in the garden. The garden is where her work took place, no matter the conditions. You know, it was interesting. That has been her place, still is her place. Yeah.
Are you talking like a physical earth garden
Both.
in this world and another garden?
Both. Yes.
Both. Okay, that's what I got from you. I think Michelle has made a request there in the chat, Patricia.
She wants us to read it again, which I'm going to say we will in just a moment. Did anybody have what happened for me when we read this particular paragraph is I felt a little bit less burdened by the obligation that I feel from the previous two paragraphs as to what the actual contract is and how I'm supposed to be carrying it out. Or
Good
what
point.
the situation is. It was kind of a little bit like a lightning of the picture, and the sentence religion literally translated into our language means bound in return is not anything that I have ever known about. And I've been in a lot of religions. I've participated in Methodist and Baptist and,
Yeah.
Lots.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not as heavy to me as the previous couple of paragraphs. So anyway, Michelle was asking if you could read it again, that paragraph that you read.
Could we have someone else read it just to get a different tone? Is that okay?
Of course. Nishant, are you available for reading or are you just listening?
He says in the chat he's going to be right back.
Okay.
But yeah, I totally get the same feeling about what you just said, Patricia, on that. How it lifts that heaviness from the previous,
Yeah.
you know.
Oh, I can read it.
Okay.
Religion, literally translated into our language, means bound in return. It is meant not only in the sense of being bound to the absolute, but that we have taken upon ourselves the obligation to return again and again to our lives, those lives which were given to us in hospitality. In return for this hospitality, we have agreed to perfect the life entrusted to our care. In this sense, we are the guardian angels of our biological machines, the houses in which we enjoy life. You get that, Michelle? Yeah. Thank you. So, Nishant, are you there? You want to read the next paragraph? Well, that's okay. Sandy, how would you feel about it?
Sure. Are you able to read, Michelle? No. Okay.
No, I'm in the kitchen.
Okay, thank you. In addition, the Great Return means that periodically the creation itself is annihilated by return to the absolute. Although it is never really destroyed, because it is ejected once again in exactly the same form, with the same intrinsic history, significance, and cast of characters. This makes us immortal, whether we wish it or not. And unless we have taken the work obligation which produces consciousness, we are immortal in the worst sense of the word, which is to say, unconsciously and involuntarily. And I'll pass.
Anything you want to add about that, Sandy, or comment on?
I've never really heard this formulation before when I've read it, but I didn't remember it.
Mm-hmm.
The work obligation which produces consciousness. I like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I just want to say that, as I bounce along with each word Sandy reads, I feel like, I get it. I'm hopping along. on every word Sandy recites and say, okay, yeah, 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 yeah. But then when I pull back and look at the whole sentence, I'm like, I'm scratching my head. And when I pull back and look at that entire paragraph she read, I'm really scratching my head.
I can relate. What I did this time was recall the sensation of being reminded again of the obligation. So for me, that was like, okay, the first time that I go, oh, it's not just living the life, you know, that little kind of jerky thing that kind of stops you in your tracks. And then the next time when it was, well, do you want to do something about this? You know, are you up for it? This was all in Vancouver. And the next time it was, oh, you can take on an obligation. And if you take on the obligation and you fulfill the obligation, you will discover what it is to have that sense of obligation. And I don't mean the big time obligation. I mean one like, you know, do a prayer every day or whatever the thing is, whatever the duty is. And when it says, this makes us immortal whether we wish it or not, and unless we have taken the work obligation, which produces consciousness, we are immortal in the worst sense of the word, which is to say unconsciously and involuntarily. So it's kind of like you're being offered a choice. Immortalness doesn't necessarily come with consciousness or agreement to obligation. So I think the worst thing could be that you live over and over and over and over and over and over and over, and you clue in that there would be something that you could be doing. And that would be a horrific failure. So I remember having that thought about this paragraph before in that same way.
Having that what?
That thought
Thought.
about this paragraph in the same way before. So my mind may be losing all of it, but I did recall some of that.
No, just to be clear, Patricia, because I'm always wondering work obligation, capital W work.
Mhm.
I'm assuming we can consider what we're doing here right now, Nishant, Sandy, Michelle, myself, and you, Patricia, that this would be classified as a work obligation, yes?
That's how I understand the definition.
Good.
It is not required for the continuation of your physical life. It is not required for any of your maintenance of, you know, bodily form, creation, relationship with relatives, any of that. It is completely outside of that. So it's a choice, first of all, and it has as the potential something that would be of service, not necessarily by default, but it could be of service. That makes sense?
Absolutely.
Cool.
And I'm not making any money at it either.
Okay.
But I'm loving it.
I'm happy for you. Nishant, are you ready to read?
Yes.
That's the third paragraph on page 26, in a way.
Religion, literally translated into our language, means bound in return.
Wait. We're on page 26. I think you're on page 25.
Oh, okay.
And we're on the third paragraph that starts with "in a way."
Okay.
Thank you.
Two paragraphs below from where you started, Nishant.
Okay. Thanks. Yes.
Sorry.
In a way, we can become voluntary in our eternal return to this life, at least on the inside, by accepting this bondage, and by this acceptance of the inevitable situation of eternal return, transforming our experience from darkness to light. By accepting, should I pause or continue?
Yeah, pausing would be fine with me because that was
Okay.
pretty heavy.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're pretty meaty. Pretty meaty.
Yeah. Guys, what do we think of that?
Pithy.
What?
Pithy.
Oh, pithy. Yeah.
Pithy. Yeah.
It's just a little bit outside the reach of my capacity to grasp at the moment. Sorry, just can't quite get there. Somebody. Yeah.
This one felt a little lighter to me, though.
Oh, cool.
You know, but when they said voluntarily, so I'm seeing this as whoever I am right now, and doesn't matter what I understand about the work and about the school, I can say to myself inside that, yeah, I'm gonna keep coming back, even if I don't have to come back. I'm going to keep coming back.
Okay.
I think maybe it is about voluntary suffering, because
Yeah.
in one lecture, Bhagwan was saying that, you know, we have to go through suffering, even if we want or don't want. So better to do it voluntarily.
Okay.
Mm. Yeah, why kick and fight when you damn well know you got to go have a bath, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Got to get the kids into the bathtub. Kicking and screaming won't do anything.
Right. Well, why don't you go on to the next one, Nishant, because I think there's a little bit more about this right here.
Okay. By accepting the obligation to work in the work, it is possible to become immortal within the limits of a cosmos of a lower order than the organic world. Because the cosmos happens not to be a co-terrestrial for higher substances, which is to say a depository in which higher substances are blended into the into the common cosmic totality. But immortality is not the point.
Did anybody look up the meaning of the word restorial?
No, it switches to, okay,
It's not a word. It's
restorer.
not, it's not-
There is no word.
I'm
Restorer.
not getting anything. I
Yeah.
think he made that one up.
Yeah.
Seems to have to do with buildings and restoring buildings.
Well, if the language of the first phrase, by accepting the obligation to work in the work, if you take that as the given, and then it says it is possible to become immortal within the limits of a cosmos of a lower order than the organic world. What is a cosmos lower than the organic world? maybe that's this thing because the cosmos happens not to be a restoral for higher substances, but a depository where higher substances are blended. It's kind of like it's actually a storage unit where stuff gets put that can be used and made later into something of usefulness. Except that then it says immortality is not the point. I am thoroughly confused.
I am too.
So maybe we could put this paragraph aside for a little while and go one or two more to see if maybe it helps us look back and get more of what was being said. That would be okay?
Yeah.
Thank you.
So continue, right?
Yes, please.
We are already immortal in the sense that we exist now. And because we exist now, this will always be our time. The creation is one moment existing eternally. Therefore, once we have lived this life, we cannot be robbed of it. And until it has been perfected, it will always provide us with a certain seemingly endless amusement. The point really is, until we begin the process of perfection of our life, it will continue as it always has. Immortality in the ordinary sense of the word would become real hell very soon, because nothing in our being would have changed.
Does that help?
Doesn't help me one bit. Well, maybe a little.
I think one thing that I notice is that I have some very undeveloped understandings of some of the language. Perfection, immortality, and some of the language I think is extremely important because it's not that it's a logical sense of explanation, but it definitely is that things are being built on top of previous things. So if I haven't gotten those other things in place, I'm not going to come up with much if I keep on going. You know what I'm saying? Okay, what have we got? We've got a few more minutes.
Yeah. Nothing we could learn in the ordinary course of events will help us. But special work on ourselves in preparation for the work can make it possible to understand and accept these obligations. Without special work, everything is just wishful thinking, a wish to be obligated, even if it is very strong, cannot help us to take our work obligation.
Oh, hooray. Something that finally makes sense. Okay. Special work on self in preparation for work, capital W, is a requirement for being able to be useful. And that goes to the sentence in the previous paragraph, which said, the point really is until we begin the process of perfection of our life, it will continue as it always has. So nothing we can learn in the ordinary course will help us, but special work can make it possible to understand and accept obligations. Without special work, everything is wishful thinking. Well, that's a little bit more helpful. Anyone else want to have a go at this? You want to read some, Sandy?
Sure. Time is very precious. It is a pity to waste it in speculation just for the satisfaction of the mental centrum. Because of the necessities of the teacher's work, there is a definite time limit for our work with him to prepare ourselves for the work. If the teacher is obligated to give us everything necessary for our preparation for the work, and he has seriously taken this obligation upon himself, assuming, of course, that he is actually able to provide us with authentic preparation for the work, then he has made a special suffering for himself. Oh, pass.
Hans?
Thank you, Sandy. Only after the completion of the obligation of the teacher toward the work of candidates is it possible for him to pass from this world and to take an entirely new obligation. The law of conversation,
No.
sorry, the law of conservation, the law of conservation of energy prevents him from taking a new form of obligation until the old form has been completed by perfection. In the same way that a diamond is brought to completion by cutting and polishing.
Does that make sense to you, Barterman?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
That kind of, yeah, that kind of unwraps a bit of the pretzel in my mind.
Mhm. It eases up some of the concern that I have about, the previous paragraphs and what it seemed like was expected or demanded or required or whatever, that I was not in any position to accomplish. Okay, I'm going to read. I guess we have time for another paragraph. Is that okay?
Mm-hmm.
Say anything more about where we've gotten to so far?
We're heading into page 28.
For the teacher, the completion of the work for a student produces a completely new octave for the teacher's work and provides a solid preparation for cooperative work. Eventually, the results of students' efforts may be useful in the larger work of which individual work had been only a part. By law, the organic world must keep a worker in the work alive until the completion of the whole task. But no law decrees that one must give these ideas to just anyone who may have, through one accidental influence or another, formed some pathological curiosity, and nowhere does it say that these ideas must be presented university style. I'm so much more familiar with that manner. Oh, shucks. The teacher must, by law, transmit everything necessary for work, but is free to present the ideas in such a way that individuals in a group are forced by necessity to share fully and completely with each other those individually received fragments of work methods and intelligence, which might have happened to stick in memory through some vagary of chance. In so doing, they are forced to work together cooperatively as a team or fail miserably at any attempt to work.
I don't know about everyone else, but I'm somehow reminded here of EJ's famous line, "I cannot refuse anyone help."
Mhm. Yeah.
And I remember asking EJ for a very quick and cathartic method to wake me up. But also, you know, this stuff does, like, not all of it, but this stuff that we've discussed tonight can really twist my mind and my thoughts into a pretzel of, like, what is this? I don't get it. Where all I want to do is just put my nose back down onto the grindstone and do the work that I know how to do and do it.
Yeah, it's not meant for you to feel as if you've got the picture.
But it's fun. It sure is fun what we're doing here. It's a lot of fun.
So in the reading that we have done in this paragraph, which remember is called bound in return, which has a completely different meaning than I understood. And we're, I don't know, what are we, halfway through, give or take? Yeah, we're about halfway through this chapter. So far, we've already had like 5 or 6 conversations of this material. So when you post this, I think you should welcome people to, you know, can you text underneath it, comment, care, you know, when they look at the YouTube?
Yeah.
So I'm going to welcome people to add in what they get from hearing our conversation about this and contribute to it. And when we come back in 2 weeks, we can pick up if there is some juicy bits, maybe choice pieces that will help us to work with this material. I invite that. I think that would be very helpful and appropriate. Anything else before we close for today? I mean, aside from the fact that we're going to be dangling for 2 weeks.
Just don't run off after we all start waving our arms up in the air, okay?
That's right. I'm supposed to stay here for 20 seconds longer. I remember. Thanks for reminding me.
Oh, this was a fabulous meeting.
Well, the context of this book is a mystery to me. And I love the challenge of trying to get inside the mystery. Thank you all.
Thanks, Patricia.
Thanks very much, Pat.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks all.
Thank you.
Thanks everyone.
Thanks, Sandy. Thank you,
Yeah,
Nishant.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Michelle.
Thank you. Thank you.
See you soon.
Bye.
Bye.
And scene. Of course, we'll cut it off before that, but I just wanted to do that.
Okay.